really should just hello. Going on dates is like going to a job interview. And if we really think about masculinity and femininity, it is what is God's design for the male species, and what's God's design for the female species. And I did that when we were dating. I should tell you that.
I feel like that's going to trigger people a little bit.
Exactly. No, I get that. In a good way.
Welcome back to the Dear Future Husband podcast. I'm your host, Christian, and it is so fun to bring conversations to you guys. But if I'm honest, it's even more fun when we get to have this girl talk feel, when I get to have my girlfriends on. So I'm bringing on my friend, Nava Esther. And we're splitting a mic today because why not make this like very intimate and friendly? If you're watching, you will notice that. We'll just keep passing the mic and passing questions. We're really just going to make this like we're sitting at home with you guys, having those questions where it's like, man, I have this question around dating, or I want to know this about identity and worth and like how a godly man pursues. You have all these questions in your mind and then you come to record. It's like, man, where do you even start? Because dating's kind of crazy right now. To be a single woman, like, how do you sympathize with what you hear from people?
I can imagine what it's like right now being single and the dating apps and the pressure and the where do we meet? And I feel like there's so much. I feel like it's different than it was a few years ago.
Yeah.
But maybe that's just me. Do you feel the same way? I feel like dating is different now?
Yes, I do.
We really should just, hello.
I do. It is kind of wild that it's changed so much even. And like I got married 6 years ago. Yeah, I do think some of the best advice around singleness, dating, marriage is really just understanding your worth and identity. And I hate that those words can seem so talked about where it's like, well, let's just tune out. Like, I get it. I know who I am. But do we really? Because I feel like that's a continued journey for me. I always want to make sure I'm in line with who God's called me to be. I'm like keeping that at the forefront because it's easy to dilute because we are oversaturated with so many things, like what you should look like, how you should talk, what your career and your friendship should be. So that is, you could stop it right there. Just like know your identity and know your worth. And that'll recenter all of yours with dating. But for you, when you're being pursued by your husband, Emmanuel, because your drop's head gorgeous, we can all see that. And if you can't see that, shameless plug to our YouTube channel, go watch it over there. But what was it like for you in your single years and when you were pursued? Like, what did it look like for you to know your worth so you weren't swept away by any guy that was attractive or said the right things?
I actually love talking about dating. So this is a fun conversation because I feel like it's such a chaotic world. And I also feel like dating, like going on dates is like going to a job interview. Like you have to come with your best resume. You have to bring up the best topics about yourself. So that's a whole, I could totally talk about that for days. But you know what? I don't really remember. This might even be, I'll give it right back to you. This might even be more in line with like how people, like the juicier side, if you will. But what was it that was attractive about Emmanuel to you? And how much did attraction play into, oh my gosh, could this be the one? Yes. Okay. So actually previously to Emmanuel, I feel like I always dated the wrong guys. Classic. It was something about, I had this thing where, gosh, I don't know how to make this sound not like I'm not full of myself. But it was just hard because you didn't know when a guy was being genuine. And I shared this actually last time, but I think when Emmanuel washed my feet, after he washed my feet, he looked at me and said, I love you. And it was the first time I felt like a man said, I love you. And it was not, there was no strings attached. He wasn't trying to get in bed with me. He wasn't trying to it wasn't towards something. Like it felt so genuine and it felt so freeing. Does that make sense? I feel like so many times you'll be on a date and guys will say certain things and you can just tell where it's going. Does that make sense? As opposed to a man saying something and you feeling like, wow, that felt genuine. And honestly, yeah, you got to know your red flags.
I'm going to use my iPhone mic because I don't want to take away from anything you're saying. So here we go. Well, I did a podcast on this all around how like flirting is actually bad because it is so hard. What do you say to a woman where it's like, oh, this is how you know he's genuine and this is how you know it's not? It's not that easy. But I do like what I'm envisioning of Emmanuel. It's like he was in a scenario where it wasn't like the atmosphere, the way he was saying it, the environment. Like he was literally washing your feet, like looking up at you. He's sitting on the ground. He's not cuddled up next to you or like rubbing your leg and like, I love you. I love you. Do you love me too? Or like, honestly, he was in a humbling position. Like he was physically lower than you. He was in a vulnerable state. So I'm like, when men can express how they feel and they can compliment you in an environment where it's like, man, I'm putting myself out there. You could reject me. Yeah. I want to take you on a date. Will you go with me Tuesday? Like things where it's not comfortable or easy to sway you. That to me is like, that's how I would tell someone to decipher if he's being genuine or not.
And also what was cool is that it was actually so beautiful. I didn't say I love you back in that moment. And his confidence was not swayed for a second. And I've dated guys where, like this one guy, I remember we were at a bar and we were talking and then I knew a few of the other guys that were there. So I was just talking to the other guys. I always, like in Israel, it's very normal to have a bunch of guy friends. So I always had loads of guy friends because it was just, I don't know. It's
because they wanted to be your friend.
And so I literally am talking to the guy I was talking to, turned around, started talking to a few other guys, and he got so jealous. And he was so jealous and he kept like trying to pull me. And I was like, wait, what? And
we all were just talking.
And we were just in the beginning. And something that I loved about Emmanuel from the beginning was that he is still to this day, is so confident and he is not swayed by me in the most like manly masculine way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like there's a difference in you can do whatever you want. He should just be confident, but it's like, well, no, his confidence actually leads you to want to serve him, respect.
And I've asked him before, I said, babe, does it ever bother you when like guys look at me or if I think one time like a guy hit on me or something next to him and he was like, honestly, no. And I was like, I was shocked because I feel like I always known like I felt worth when a man was jealous. But then Emmanuel said, I'm so like, I'm going home with you. You're my woman. Like you're all mine. Obviously, if a man were to come and like try to grab me and walk, Emmanuel would want to punch him. But like from a guy, like he's like, no, it doesn't sway me at all. It doesn't move because I love you so much. I'm so confident in our relationship and I know that you're mine. And I've never known that. He's such a solid human being. And it's been that's why I love the conversation of like masculine men bring out the femininity in a woman.
Oh my gosh, yes, I want to talk about that next. Yes. So, but what I'm hearing here is he has a trust in you and he has an admiration for you. So if someone else is admiring, man, this guy has a beautiful wife, it's like a compliment to him. Yeah. But if you were flirting back or if he wasn't trusting of you, of course, it's going to bring up jealousy and like you feel insecure, like how do I act? But it's like when you have trust and security, you know that person, it's like, well, yeah, I'm going to feel complimented because someone notices what I have. And like that's the trajectory that I hope we have in our relationships built on trust, really knowing that person, not using our beauty or our words or flattery to like coerce this person to feel jealous or like.
I did that when we were dating. I should tell you that. I remember certain moments where I was like, Emmanuel is such a treasure box and you don't see everything on his face. Does that make sense? Like he doesn't show everything. He's more of an introvert. And so extroverts, I feel like, are more verbally expressive of how they feel. He can hide things. And so whenever we were dating and I didn't feel comfortable, the only way I knew my worth was for other men to be looking at me. So for me, I feel like I can, like, there's almost a switch you can turn on as a woman of like, you're more sexual, like, you know what I mean? Like you're more, like you give that off. Yes, exactly. And I knew moments where I wasn't so confident in where we were in our relationship and I would try to do that. And I felt the Lord so strongly try to come in and teach me that I had to break down what I understood in relationship, in sex, Christian. Like I had to because I always saw it from such a different perspective, if that makes sense.
Like your beauty was a tool.
Yes, like and you can totally cut this out if you want to, but even like in sex, like I had to learn how to just be and not perform. Does that make sense? Like I always wanted, in his mind, I always wanted to be the best. So I had to be some kind of like Playboy bunny in bed instead of just being Nava, his wife that he loves. And because that's what you do in the dating world. Like if you've slept before marriage with anyone, like it's so competitive because
You got to keep that.
you got to keep that.
Interested.
Exactly. And so you have to be the best night they've ever had. So it's like God had to break down so much inside of me and rebuild it in confidence of trusting Emmanuel and when he would say words like that, like I remember one time we also went to another bar. It was my friend's birthday. We go to this bar and I saw a guy that I hadn't seen in years. And it was someone that like I had a relationship with when I was younger. And whenever exclusive, but whatever, it was a very toxic relationship. And Emmanuel had to watch me nervous about this other guy I hadn't seen in years. And any other guy, I feel like, would have been so uncomfortable. But Emmanuel, it makes me want to cry. He was so steady. He was so like, he literally had to watch the woman he loves uncomfortable from someone from her past. I don't know if you've ever been in a situation like that. It was such like, I hope not many women have to be stuck in this situation.
Well, in clarity here, I'm guessing it's not because of who that guy was, but because of like your automatic response. It's like, well, I had to be nervous around him and I felt insecure. It's like that just bubbles.
Yes. And the way Emmanuel responded was so masculine and manly, and he just covered me. He just covered me and he let me know when I went home, I was like, I'm with the right guy. Because the little girl, teenage girl inside of me, young 20-year-old girl, like, that was like a crazy moment. But for me now, it's like, wow, I'm with the best human being I could ever dream of. And I got to stand in that moment and look at a guy that I loved so much when I was younger, or lust.
For all the wrong reasons. Yeah.
Exactly. I wouldn't call that love because it's nowhere close to my love for Emmanuel. And Emmanuel he had me close, and I could tell it was hard for him. It was definitely, it's not that it's not hard because we all have a past. But anyways, watching how firm he was and how confident he stayed in trusting me and my heart for him, that I love him. I've never really known that from a lot of men because jealousy is such a big thing, not just from women, from men too.
So beautiful. And I love that moment of like, wow, I could tell how even my body and my emotions and my heart responded that I was with the guy that was good for me and I can be good to him.
Yeah.
Versus this other experience where I was like, I can clearly see. I knew that wasn't right, but this just edifies.
Yeah.
Man, I don't want to go back to that type of relationship, no matter how hard marriage gets. And this is a side of relationships I don't think we talk about often. Raising kids is hard.
Mm-hmm.
Being married is hard, but it's also fruitful. And I was thinking the other day, there's no one else I would want to. I never would want to sleep with anyone. Like there's attractive men out there, but I'm like, I don't want to. Like, I love that I get to show completely who I am, intimately, emotionally, with one person. Like, it's exhausting to try to keep up with that performance side of things. And even if you're like, hey, I haven't had sex, I'm not doing that. It's like, even the dating sphere, if you're like, well, I have to put on my best to be the best catch. No, be yourself, present yourself the best way. But it's like, it doesn't have to be a competition. Everything is a competition. But the way you talk about Emmanuel, like even saying, instead of, well, he's an introvert, he wouldn't tell me what he was thinking, calling him a treasure box. I think that speaks so highly of your relationship. You always, even when cameras aren't rolling, talk about him that way. So I love, as a friend, seeing my friends in love, but also seeing good examples of like healthy, Christ-centered relationships. Talking about feminine and masculine, because this is so taken aback. It's like toxic masculinity, submissive woman. Yeah. Even down to domestic stuff, I found myself enjoying that more without losing my creativity and like dreams. And I don't know if we as a culture have understood that those can actually coexist and better each other. But it's this dynamic of, what does a healthy masculine man do for a woman, and what does that even mean?
That's so good. What do you think? I feel like you and Arden do this so well.
He's very masculine, I will say that.
He is. And you are very feminine, but you're very confident in who you are. You're such like a strong woman, but yet you're not above Arden. Does that make sense? Like, you're not trying to be like
I'm like,
You're not
competing with
competing.
them.
Yes, exactly.
All about competition.
Yes.
Thank you for saying that, because I actually think some of the qualities in me that are feminine are strong, but I silence those because I was trying to be, the type of woman where it is like, you have to be the best and the men have to chase you and you have to have a career. Like, I still have the qualities I did that are feminine, but it just came out so awkward. Like, it's like this, I feel like I'm striving for something or I'm trying to be this person and it's not right. And the more feminine I've become, the more like naturally confident or the right form that comes out. And I would say Arden is masculine in the sense of like, I trust him. I trust that he is thinking of providing for our family. He's thinking of how to nurture and love me. Like, we think of masculine, it's like, oh, I'm gonna go beat up somebody. Yeah, and like, I can't talk about my feelings.
Yeah,
which we're still working on hard a little bit. But I know the lane I'm supposed to operate in.
Yeah.
And if we really think about masculinity and femininity, it is what is God's design for the male species and what's God's design for the female species.
Yeah.
And there's a quality in that. There's beauty. There's a collectiveness. Like, we are all under God, but there's also specifics. And that's not, to me, it's not limiting.
That's so beautiful.
It's liberating.
Yeah.
Like, I want to know what God's called me to be. We're all doing this. Like we said, we're doing the Enneagram test. We're doing all these things because we're like, I want to know the things that are special about me. We already have a blueprint, but we're rejecting it.
Yeah. Oh, that's so beautiful. I love what you said about it's so liberating, because it truly is. When a man is being who God created him to be, and a woman is being who God created her to be, there's such beauty to just relax. You know what I mean? Everyone's doing what they're called to do, and I can support him. Like, financially, he carries the financial burden. And I know some women, there's so many dads that stay at home now and the women work. But I've actually like talked to friends where like the woman's carrying the burden, and she literally was like, I don't feel like this is my burden to carry. And that's a whole topic in itself that, like, again, no shame for the moms that are working, because we're working, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I was going to say, you can be working without having to be the breadwinner or like carry it in a mantle way.
Or there's women, like I have one friend that she is the one that's carrying it, but the way she talks about it, she's always honoring her husband so much. And she always says, like, she doesn't want people to know what she does, so that her husband is the one that's seen as the one that makes all the money, because she's like, I never want people to think that about me.
And I thought that was so, I feel like that's going to trigger people a little bit.
Exactly. No, I get that. In a good way, because her heart was not to shy. Her heart was to honor her husband. She didn't want people to see her husband as less. And maybe someone say, well, that's her shying away from who she's supposed to be. But actually, because she feels so comfortable in her husband and in their relationship, she doesn't feel like everyone needs to know that she's a breadwinner. You know what I mean?
If you think about it, like, do men really go around confident, mature men go around and be like, well, I'm the provider because I do this? Like, no, my husband never does that. Yeah. What he does is he works hard behind the scenes. Yeah. He shows up when he doesn't want to. And I feel like we can do the same thing. It's about a humble partnership.
Yeah. And us as women, like, we applaud women that work hard. Like, it is not easy to be a stay-at-home mom that works as well. I mean, being a mom is 24/7. So I think it's actually incredible. But there's also beauty, like, it goes both ways. There's also this beauty of, like, not everyone needs to know that she's the breadwinner, he's the breadwinner, just like what you said.
I feel like it should be about the passion too. Yeah. Like, if I do something, I have a friend that has 3 kids. One is our youngest son, well, your youngest son, my son's age. And so I'm like, you have a lot on your plate. Yeah. She and her husband both work, but they're both artisans. Yeah. And so anytime they talk about it, they see like a harmony in what they do. I love that. She talks about, well, like, the Lord gave me this vision and I want to steward that. Mm. Their hours probably look different. Their income looks different, but it's always about, like, well, this is what I feel, like, kind of like you're saying, this is what I feel like I'm put on the earth to do. Yeah. And so, like, it's my duty to do it. Yeah. It's not my duty to grind, and like, prove myself and have status. Mm-hmm. But yeah, if you are, like, I mean, I was raised by a single mom. Yeah. She worked so hard. And I honestly, truly don't know how she did it a lot of times. But I think as what we're saying, there's no shame if you're working. There's no shame if you're divorced. There's no shame if you're single. Yes. But if we're talking about what is God's nature for women and for marriage, I want other people to know that and get as close to that as possible. So we're not having people that's like, well, I'm burnt out on work. Yes. Or I don't have any love to give to my husband or my kids when I get home. Or I married the wrong guy.
Yeah.
And I'm heartbroken in my marriage. So that's why it's important to talk about this. What are some of the attributes of femininity that make you just feel alive?
I love this. I think when I pray as a mom, like as a wife, when I pray, I feel like I found this like warrior woman. I think that's why we love women, movies like Wonder Woman and all these movies, because that's who God's actually created us to be, as the gatekeepers of our home. And I think, like, I don't know, I think
Shells.
yeah, when I think of my mom, so many times, Christian, I'd look for her all around the house, and I'd go in the room and I'd find her on her knees in the room just praying. I'm not talking about little prayers. This woman had a sword and was she was taking care of business. And I remember so many times I couldn't find her anywhere, and I'd find her there. And she had like this little brown pillow. She had it under her bed, and she'd sit and she'd just spend time on her knees. And like, gosh, when I think of a feminine woman, I think of a woman that knows the spiritual realm and knows that she needs to protect her home. That there is a line that she's drawing around her house that the enemy has no access to. When Eve got Adam to eat the apple, okay, there was one tree they weren't supposed to eat. But think of all the other fruit that our husbands can eat out of our obedience. So, and the enemy is no mirror to God. So if that could brought so much calamity and destruction, how much more can we give our husbands in light? Does that make sense? Like, if Eve was able to do that in such a destructive way, how much way is the opposite of that and so much greater? So there's so much in my femininity where I, like, even in taking care of myself in the day-to-day, waking up, putting on a little makeup, doing my hair, brushing my hair, like being able to wake up every day and be that woman for my husband, and not for anyone else, for him, because that's love to me. Like, love is sacrificial, and is choosing him every single day. So that to me is another thing of femininity. I love like looking like a lady. I want to always look like a lady. And sometimes it'll just be a little lip liner, change my pants, put little earrings on the day-to-day when we're snowed in. You know what I mean? So definitely that. I'm going to think of more, but I want to ask you because I wonder what yours are.
Okay. Oh, what mine are? I mean, I'm just thinking, you said so much. I'm like, yes, that's so good. Actually, you said something when you're talking about prayer and being the gatekeepers. I think we think of feminine as submissive, powerless, dainty, completely cut, like unseen.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking of when we give birth, that is such a feminine expression.
Yes.
You're not quiet. You're not powerless. You really are the center of the room, but you're also serving this God idea and serving someone else. And I'm like, that,
laying down your life.
Yes. But it's like, it's
which is
powerful.
the greatest love.
It's like that prayer. It's powerful.
Yeah.
It's like, God, I need you.
Yeah.
It's like, I am a warrior woman, but I'm also a woman. I'm going to fight the way that women are supposed to fight.
Yeah.
Not the way men are supposed to fight. And for me, I think femininity, what I felt the most, I'm able to come alive in, at least in this moment, what comes to mind is we're talking about that covering that her husband brings, and specifically in creating and working. I've seen how I've taken a little bit of a step back in some areas. Some other areas I'm taking more steps forward. Like, I've seen how Arden's actually taken on more. And I got nervous at one point, honestly, because when I was taking on so much, I was just stressed all the time. I was a little bit more like not as nice and patient with him, and I was worried the same thing would happen. But he's handled it so well, and he's really stepped into a leadership calling that I think specifically for him individually is so strong on his life. But I'm also like, there is a way that he leads that's different than I'm able to. There's a way that I lead that's different than he's able to. And so my feminine nature is that posture of like, I really can carry almost like a song, the melody of our home. And if something's out of tune, what am I doing where it's like I'm trying to be something I'm not?
Yeah.
And there's something like you're saying I can do that can further help him become a leader.
Yeah.
Can help my son grow in like spirit and kindness. And so, I just,
beautiful.
I don't want to see, because I was that same way. I was like, oh, feminine, submissive, like who wants to be that?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, actually I do, but I just haven't seen it modeled and like prized this way.
Oh, prized. That's so good. Well, it's so true because our husbands, when they're caring for us well, we're like giddy. We're there's like this safety net where we're just covered. We're safe.
You're free to be.
Yeah. Think about it. When you're in a space that's protected, you feel so much more. You feel safe. You're relaxed. I feel like femininity is like this. We get to relax again, and this joy, this giddy girl that gets to be like, okay. Oh, I thought of another thing. I was speaking at an event or something recently, and I got in the car and I was like, genuinely and truly, the achievements of life have slowly faded away to me, and the beauty of motherhood is become my whole heart. And I remember in that moment, I was like, all I want to do is curl up on the couch and have my 2 boys with me, and I just want to snuggle with them. And I was so worn out, and not just. I feel like femininity is also the beauty of us loving motherhood. I enjoy motherhood, Christian. Like in that moment, you think, okay, you want to go relax, pick your feet up and get a massage, which is great. But I find my rest also in being with my children. Like that is my place of refuge. That is my place of like comfortability and safety. Because that's who I was created to be. And for any woman,
love
yeah. And for like, I always say this to women. Can I just say it?
Please.
I think all women were created to be mothers. And if not, why did God create every woman with a womb, every woman with ovaries? And if you don't have those, because some women are born without it, then that's something I believe that the enemy's stolen, because God's original design for women is to have a womb, ovaries, and eggs. And I know some women aren't born with that, but God's original design was that. So if only some women were meant to be mothers, why did God create wombs and ovaries and eggs for every single body type? You know what I mean? Some women don't want to be mothers, and that's okay. But to the women that want to be mothers, I love that.
And even spiritual motherhood.
Exactly.
Just as you're saying that, I'm thinking Moses and Pharaoh's daughter.
Of course, adoption, fostering.
Yeah. Like, but even the heart posture, like be a big sister, be a mother to the people around you. It's not so much like do you have physical children or not, which it is a huge part of that.
Yeah.
But it's like our heart posture is to nurture and love people well in a way that only feminine love can do.
Yeah.
And so it's like, let's not forsake that for the sake of trying to be a man-like or trying to just, I don't want to be defined by people needing me. I want to be my own person. You can be your own person.
Yeah.
You can be a great friend. You can be a great sister. And honestly, I think that makes you a better version of your own identity. Nurturing.
Oh, sorry, you go.
You're good.
No, I was going to say that when you're nurturing, when I'm breastfeeding, I feel so, these are moments where I feel like such a feminine woman. Like I feel girly. I feel like I'm in exactly my lane. And I told this to Tori the other day. I was like, if I needed to breastfeed for the rest of my life, I would do it every day for the rest of my life. Because I think because I feel like such a woman in those moments. I feel like such a lady love. Like, I don't know, there's something about us and that's the nurturing. It's not necessarily just about breastfeeding. It's this beauty of like giving. It's this beauty of taking care of, because we're made to take care of the people around us. And I love that you said that, because there's I'm bringing up Tori again, Tori's babysitter.
Shout out to Tori.
Yeah, shout out to her. Tori's babysitter that she keeps talking about is so feminine. And you know what I mean? She's like, what, nurturing? Yes. This girl is like, it's amazing because, but I don't know. I feel like that when I'm in the kitchen or when I'm there's so many, or even when I create something beautiful on Instagram or a piece of writing.
You know what image came to mind when you were talking about the freedom of your husband's covering and like how you just feel able to express yourself? Is I just picture a woman jumping on a trampoline that has the net around it. It's like you can jump as high as you want to. You can bounce around like a little kid jumping on a trampoline. They're just laughing, bouncing, falling, and they're safe. And the opposite of that, like if we're trying to do it all we're trying to be free and our providers and our protectors. Like we're trying to be everything for ourselves. We don't have as much freedom to just enjoy. For the girl that is single, or just like, I want to be married, I want to be a mom, but I haven't met that person yet. This is in no way, well, let me back up. I read a comment yesterday that broke my heart. And this woman was saying, well, I'm just going to revolt against getting married or having kids. And I was like, I'm so sorry if the message of beauty for this season has made you feel less than in your own. And I said, I think some people are called to singleness, and if you are, that's beautiful. And she said, well, no, I don't think I'm called to it. I'm just, basically, she's saying, I'm just revolting because I'm sick of it. And I was like, man, I really don't want, like, I hope this is all hopeful of like, oh, this is a reminder of my vision. This is what I'm looking forward to. This is why I'm saying no to going on dates with the wrong guys. Or I'm saying yes to loving myself because I don't want anything else if it's a counterfeit of God's design. So if you are a single woman, you're watching this, what are some things that you have of individuality that you still have now, because you don't lose it when you get married, but you're also not lacking of it when you're single? What would you say to the single girl about, like, I don't know, just like God's love that's not, I don't even know how to say it, but I'm just like, I don't want girls to feel
I like this.
less than. You know what I'm trying to say? Just encourage.
And I think, okay, I do want to say this because this will encourage you. One of my best friends told me, I wasn't 15 or 16, I was like 21. She told me, Nava, I don't know how you're ever going to become, I don't know if I could see you as a mother because you're not very nurturing. So in this conversation, maybe you're listening to us talk about femininity and you're like, oh, I don't really have that. I don't really have that. Maybe I'm not feminine enough for this masculine man to come. And that's not the truth, because look, I had one of my best friends tell me that. And if you see me now in person, like with my children, I would say I'm very nurturing. Like we all have a lot to grow in and learn. And it wasn't like, I wasn't like that as a teenager, but God redeems literally everything. And so I think even that quality, if there's qualities in yourself that you're like, well, I don't have that, I'm not enough that, that's not the point of what we're trying to say. We're trying to enhance those things that maybe you see in yourself, or maybe that you want to be. We want to provoke you to more of that. Like, that's why I love street style. I think it's so pretty, but I also sometimes think, have we lost our femininity in the street style? Like, does that make sense? Like, there's this beauty that God is calling us women to, and it's in the curves. It's in our storyline. It's in our lines. We talk about this all the time. It's in our face structure. It's in this beautiful storyline that God, and so we want to provoke what's already inside of you.
Exactly.
To call that to you, because in your singleness, like, I remember crying myself to sleep all the time because I so longed for that relationship. That the loneliness pit is so real, and everyone experiences it. Even girls that are dating all the time or girls that have never dated. The loneliness pit is so dark and heavy, and if you don't know how to get out of the swirl, you sometimes just get deeper and deeper. But there's this place of finding who you are. Like, I remember the beauty of finding who I am in the Lord in that season. So I just want to encourage you guys, I want to encourage you ladies, that you're not too far gone, you're not too far lost, you're not too lonely, you're not too whatever enough, because God wants to meet you exactly where you are right now and encourage you in your journey to meet your husband. And we want to cheer you on.
Yes,
because I love marriage.
And we love to talk. Like, I love women. It's not just about meeting your man, but that is important, and we're praying for that.
Yeah.
Spitfire questions before we go.
I love it.
Splitting the bill.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
No.
Like, let him treat you.
Let him go for it.
And if he doesn't want to woo you on the first date, he's not gonna do it.
And if he can't afford it, then totally split the bill.
Or like go on a picnic.
Because I think
do it. Do what works for your season.
Yeah. Or go on a picnic. Do what's affordable.
Yeah. Come over for a family dinner, but don't change the nature.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say that.
Yeah. Yes, I want to ask you one. What do you and Arden do that's like your favorite thing to do together?
We both love being athletic. And I know that's not like a right answer. We're talking about femininity. Yes. Or anything. We just I love to do something where like we feel like partners. But if I'm honest, my favorite thing we do together is we have dinner together. And it's every single night, because it is our time to make sure we are together. And like, no matter what happens in the day, no matter what we're having for dinner, it's like we need that time of face to face.
I love that.
And when he's been traveling, we like always pray before dinner. And I'd hold Assie's hands. I'm like, we're going to pray. And he'd go, Dad. Like, he is so ingrained of, we are all going to pray together and spend this time. And it's sacred. And like, my favorite thing is, even in the mundane, we're going to have a meal together. Whether I've worked on it for an hour or like we literally picked up pizza. We're going to have time to be like, no, this is our time, spin off everything, and be like, no, I want to be here.
Yeah.
This is where I want to be. The fun date nights are fun too, but I'm like, that's my favorite.
I love you. Thanks for having me.
I love you. Thanks for coming back.
I know.
Forgot to keep bringing you on. Yeah. But thank you guys so much for watching and listening. And make sure you rate and review. Send us to a girlfriend that can be really encouraged by it. Love you guys, and I'll see you next time.
I wish.